Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Higurita, and I'm a Principal Technical Account Manager at AWS, and I'm based out of Austin, Texas. Welcome to AWS Supports You, where AWS Support shares best practices and troubleshooting tips. And here at AWS Support, we proactively help you optimize performance, lower cost, and innovate on the AWS cloud. Joining me today is Vinay and Samnath from AWS Support. Can you give us a quick introduction, Vinay and Samnath?
Yeah, sure, Rob. So I'm Vinay Tiwari, Technical Account Manager with AWS based out of India. I support customers with their AWS operations and help them follow best practices when operating in AWS. Today, I'm very much excited to talk to you about the fairly new service called FSX for NetApp ONTAP. Somnath?
Hey, I'm Somnath Chatterjee. I'm also a technical account manager based out of India. Always glad to share ways to help customers improve cost, performance, and security on cloud. I'm excited to dive deep into today's topic. Over to you, Vinay.
Great. Thanks both for the introduction. So today we will be introducing, as Vinay mentioned, to Amazon for FSX NetApp ONTAP. It's one of the newer services in our portfolio, and the session will help you to understand some of the key features, capabilities of the service, and also help you to understand how you can migrate your workloads to AWS. Before we do get into the details of today's show, a quick note to the attendees online. Please feel free to use the chat window on the right-hand side of your screen to let us know where you're joining us from today and share your thoughts and questions throughout the episode. We really look forward to hearing from you and interacting with you today. So, Vinay, can you go ahead and walk us through what we're going to be talking about?
Sure, Rob. So, jumping into the agenda for today, I'm going to start off by giving an introduction to the Amazon FSX service overall. Then we'll look into Amazon FSX for NetApp ONTAP, covering what FSX ONTAP brings on the table. Later, we'll look into benefits for existing ONTAP users and how does developers and builders can benefit out of it. Next, we'll also look into the data protection capabilities like snapshots and backup. And lastly, we'll touch upon the migration and hybrid capabilities as well. Okay, so starting with an introduction, Amazon FSX for NetApp ONTAP. It's a part of Amazon FSX family of services. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Amazon FSX, it's an AWS service we launched about 3.5 years ago that allows customer to launch, run, and scale feature-rich and highly performant file systems on AWS. What we have found over the course of the last several years of running different storage solutions and offering different storage solutions on AWS is a lot of customers, a lot of data that's out there today on premises is in the range of hundreds of exabytes of data and is stored predominantly on network file system. Now, network file storage has been around for a while, maybe for decades, and in that time, there have been a lot of features and capabilities and functionalities built into network file storage that customers over the years have adopted, they are using it, and on which they rely on. So, a lot of customers that we talked about are excited about moving to the cloud because they benefit from the scalability and agility that they get running in AWS. But very often, what we have also heard is customer have a reliance on specific features of the storage solutions that they are currently using. So let's say, for example, if a capability X that I am used to using on-prem, is it available in the cloud? And traditionally, without having those same capabilities in the cloud, migrating has been historically a challenge for certain of their application. And so our goal with FSX as a product is to actually offer fully managed file storage in AWS that offers the feature set, performance profiles, and data management capabilities that customers are used to with their existing file system technologies. Our goal here is to make it easy for any customers who is looking to move to AWS to migrate over to AWS without having to reinvent their storage and without having to think, okay, so what do I do if I don't have that capability in the cloud? We are giving customers the full feature set and the full data management capabilities that they may expect from their current file system solution. Now, FSX is an AWS service, which means it's fully managed and is supported by AWS. It also means that it's built on the latest AWS compute, disk, and network technologies. So, not only are we giving customers the features and functionality that they may expect from their current storage vendor, but we are also deploying these file system technologies on the best of AWS's infrastructure to give customers ever increasing price performance benefits. Okay, so earlier we have got two file systems, FSX for Windows file system, which is a native Windows file system, and Amazon FSX for Lustre, which is designed for highly performant and really compute intensive workloads. So FSX for NetApp ONTAP is the third FSX file system that we offer, and we launched it last year in September. Later at reInvent, we also launched Amazon FSX for OpenZFS. Although effectively we will be talking about FSX for NetApp ONTAP throughout this session, you might ask the question, how do we choose what is the right file system for our use case? Let's cover it at a very high level. So, broadly speaking, if you are actually a Windows customer today and exclusively Windows on-premise, then FSX for Windows file servers is probably the right place for you. If you are a Lustre user today or running an HPC workload, more likely FSX for Lustre is where you want to be looking at. If you are running ZFS today on-prem or running it via Linux servers, then FSX for OpenZFS is where you want to go. Uh, Another thing very useful, which can help you decide upon which storage or which FSX service to use, is the link that I am putting it on the slide. This will dive a little bit more deeper into the feature set of each of the service that can help you make the right decision. Okay, coming back to Amazon FSX for NetApp ONTAP. So, what is this service at a very high level? For those of you who aren't familiar with the technology, ONTAP is NetApp's flagship storage product. NetApp is a vendor. It's a company that's been offering storage solutions for customer for about 30 years. And ONTAP is their flagship storage software that allows customer to launch and run really feature-rich and performant file storages. NetApp has historically been an on-prem vendor selling customers file storage hardware with software built into it. But over the last several years, they have actually been adopting and pushing for the cloud quite a bit. They have been investing really heavily in the cloud solutions and making ONTAP available and accessible to customers if they want to run it in the cloud as well as on premises. And the reason we have launched this product based on NetApp ONTAP is there are a lot of customers who use ONTAP today pretty regularly. ONTAP is a really popular file system technology, provides a lot of features and capabilities. So the goal of this service is to give customers the full capabilities and features and all of the things that they love about ONTAP from a functionality perspective, with the simplicity, agility, scalability, and all of those benefits of having a fully managed, fully native AWS service. Basically, giving customers what they love about ONTAP and with all the goodness of an AWS service in terms of how simple it makes it to deploy storage. Okay, we have seen a lot of growth with FSX for NetApp ONTAP since we have launched it in last September. The interest has been high for customers that have been running on-premise NetApp arrays or other type of NAS arrays that they want to move to AWS. And so we have seen a number of customers make the jump, several customers with petabytes of storage migrating to AWS. Having said that, we wanted to talk about the customers who migrated to FSX ONTAP to get the benefits of a fully managed service, which also resulted on their side in reducing the operational overhead. So eHealth is a part of New South Wales Australian government. They have a bunch of medical imaging data that was hosted on premise on NetApp that they wanted to migrate over to AWS. They loved that it was fully managed because the idea of setting something up and managing it by themselves was not appealing. So being able to get a fully managed provision file system with a few clicks and in the console was super appealing to them. And then all the scalability and the benefits also that comes out of the service. What we have here with customers moving to AWS and FSX specifically is reduction of operational overhead. It helps enable the customers to focus on their core of their business and deliver a better product to their customers rather than having to spend a lot of additional time managing infrastructure. That's obvious on-prem. But even in AWS, there comes a point where you don't really want to have to set up and manage the file servers on compute instances, then manage the storages volumes, and then set up replication, which is in a different AZ altogether. So being able to have us manage all that for them and not having to do patches or updates and continuously keeping the hardware and software updated behind the scenes is super valuable to the customers. With this in mind, let's get into the details on how an existing ONTAP customers like eHealth and many others can benefit out of FSX ONTAP, meaning what are the benefits that are going to be there from an existing ONTAP customers as well as the net new users. Okay, so a lot of customers who we see interested in this service are existing users of ONTAP, and some of the benefits of this service for them come down to these. First and foremost, making it really easy and quick for these customers to migrate their data to AWS, knowing that they are migrating to a solution that is like to like with the storage solution they have today. They don't have to reinvent their data management if they want to migrate to AWS, especially in cases where they might have a data center closure or they may want to be able to do that migration very quickly. Another reason we see is because the FSX service is built on ONTAP, it provides ONTAP's capabilities. And so, what this means for you as a customer is you don't need to worry about re architecting, recertifying, retooling, or retraining your personnel if you are moving from an ONTAP system to FSX ONTAP. And this is kind of a big deal for a lot of enterprise customers who have developed operational practices around ONTAP or who have certified their applications and have a rigorous certification process that they want to run through for any new storage solution. Another benefit is again everything that customers get from running in the cloud. So for a NetApp user running on-prem traditionally, there have been physical constraints like data center rooms. It takes them weeks to get a new hardware and to scale. With FSX, customers get the benefit of being able to deploy a whole new ONTAP systems in minutes rather than weeks and scale with a click of a button. And also have all the integrations with other AWS services as well. Okay, moving on. Last but not the least, we are also seeing a trend actually with a lot of customers where the storage administrators who typically manages on-tap systems are actually looking to a future state where they can enable and guide their end users to leverage on-tap capabilities directly. Traditionally, in on-premises, a lot of NetApp storage is managed by administrators, who became kind of a bottleneck for application teams who might be looking to get storage deployed in the cloud. Now, for storage administrators, often are looking to get out of this business. They want to serve as consultants. They want to serve as folks who guide their end users on storage solutioning decision. Now, because this service makes it so easy for anybody to click a few buttons and deploy a fully managed on-tap storage, it enables you and users to actually leverage ONTAP for their workload without requiring a storage admin to be a part of that process. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to double click on some of these items. The first is migrating and extending data quickly and easily. For migrating, if you're running a NetApp system on premises, you can use SnapMirror to migrate your data to FSX ONTAP. Now, SnapMirror is a NetApp replication technology that allows customers to really quickly and efficiently move data between two ONTAP systems. This makes the migration to the cloud really simple and quick. Another option is disaster recovery. We see a lot of customers who aren't ready to move their primary copy of their data to the cloud, but they are looking to retire their DR sites. There is a SnapMirror technology out there, but there is another one called SnapVault. These are familiar terms for an existing NetApp user. What this means is if you are looking to potentially retire a DR site, you can do so and use AWS for DR. This will be done by treating FSX as a destination for copying and backing up the data from on-prem to the cloud. Okay, moving on. So, how does it simplify operations? Every customer like yourself is looking to simplify operations. There are a lot of benefits that the cloud provides that NetApp customers can now look forward to as a part of migrating to the cloud. So, one of them is the ability to deploy multi AZ storage that's highly available, highly durable. This is something that's not very easy to do on prem. You need multiple data centers, you need to configure application. So with FSX, each file system is highly available and durable across multiple AZs. And so what this means is, if you look at the bottom of this diagram, you can see a depiction of FSX for ONTAP file system. Each file system has two file servers in two different AZs, and each file server has a redundant copy of your data in each AZ as well. All of the clients that are mounting your file system at any given point in time are routed automatically to the active file server. In this case, the file server is in AZ1. So let's say, for example, there is a failure of that primary file server. What happens is automatically Amazon FSX fails over to the other file servers, and automatically your clients fail over along with it. The clients don't see a disruption. FSX is a managed service, which means that we are constantly monitoring the hardware, the software, powering customers' file system, and if needed, we will replace the failed hardware component. So, in a matter of minutes, FSX would automatically replace it with a new one, and clients would automatically fall back along with it. Again, all of this happens without disruption. So, from a client perspective, they have been just continuing to read, write their data from a highly available network file system. Okay, same things happen at the disk layer as well. So if a disk fails, we are automatically detecting replacing field disk so that you don't need to worry about managing things like RAID replications or parity bits or anything like that. To summarize, we simplify your operations overhead by providing a fully managed and highly resilient service. Okay, another thing in the sense of simplicity is all of the integration, all of the AWS services that are out there. So for NetApp customers who are used to running NetApp on-prem, they are limited in terms of some of the operational capabilities they have. To get more value from that data and in the cloud, there are a number of compute services, data management services, monitoring services that makes it easy for customers to more quickly, more effectively, and more easily gain value from and protect and analyze their data. So before moving ahead, I just wanted to check if there are any questions. Okay,
Thanks, Vic.
I see.
Yeah,
Yes,
we do
Rob.
have a question from the audience as well, but I have a question as well. You're talking about NSW's migration. Just curious in general, if customers have, they're working on a migration like NSW does, and they can't issues and stuff, is there a way AWS support would be able to help them in that migration?
Yes. So we as TAM can collaborate with you to ensure that you have the support needed for the migration. Feel free to reach out to your account team with your use case and we can liaise with you. For any technical issues like and how to questions or any specific error that you're facing, feel free to raise a support case and our specialist team can get back to you with that details. Hope this helps.
Great, thanks. And I do have a question that came in from FriendBear22. They're
Mhm.
very interested in FSX, but they are aware that it's based on the NFS protocol and are wondering if they're correct in that, and just kind of wondering about some multi-protocol access to data using NFS or network file system, server message block for SMB, and doing like iSCSI connectivity. Can you talk a
Yeah,
little bit about
so
that?
yes, Rob, I can speak on that. So yes, NetApp is not just based on NFS protocol, it provided as a part of the multi-protocol support that it does. So let's say you have got Linux systems in place, Linux clients, you can use NFS there. If you have got Windows clients, you can use SMB protocol there. One additional thing is iSCSI that you rightly mentioned in the chat. We will be covering this a bit in more detail in the upcoming slides as well.
Great,
Hope this
thanks.
answers the question. Yeah.
All right, appreciate that. So yeah, I'll turn it back over to you to continue on through the rest of your presentation, and keep the questions coming, audience. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So I have talked a little bit about how easy it is to get started, how easy it is to use the service and some of the benefits. I would now let Somnath quickly walk through a demo of actually using the service, like getting started and see what it looks like to interact with the service overall. Over to you, Somnath.
Thanks, Vinay. So we will go over a quick demo creating the file system through the console and then accessing the data. So here is the FSX console. I will go ahead and click on create file system and select Amazon FSX for NetApp ONTAP. So we have two options, quick create and standard create. Quick create which makes it easy to get started and standard create which lets you configure few of the additional parameters. You can give your file system a name. For this demo, I'm going to use the name FSX ONTAP demo. I'm going to keep the storage capacity at 2 terabytes and I will leverage the default VPC. I'm going to enable the storage efficiency to enable compaction, deduplication and few additional features. In this page, we see a quick summary of the configurations which are being created. As you can see, the default SVM will be with the name FSX along with the default volume name as vol1. When I click on create file system, the file system creation will start, although it is going to take few minutes. Okay, so to speed things up, I will use a file system that I have already created. Let me bring that up. So here it is. I'm going to click on this file system and then navigate to the SVM section. You can see there is a SVM created called FSX. As you can see, this SVM is joined to an active directory and default volume called as vol1 as well as the root volume. You can also see we expose management endpoints which is used to manage your data using ONTAP CLI, REST API, all is available from within the console. Now let me quickly jump into an EC2 Linux box which I have set up in the same VPC and will show you by mounting FSX over NFS. As you can see on the screen, I just mounted FSX. By mounting, what you essentially do is you associate FSX volume with a folder on your Linux client. In this case, folder is /ontap demo. Within here, I'm going to create a file and echo some text and write it to a file called multi.txt. So let me run the echo command. Here it is. I'm going to cat this file to ensure that we have written the file successfully. Here you can see the contents of the file. I will now flip over to a Windows instance that is running on the same VPC and is a part of the same Active Directory as a part of the SVM. So let me bring my Windows machine. Here it is. So you can mount the volume from the Windows directly, and you can see the exact same data that's on FSX on your Windows client as well. So I am accessing the same data from both Linux client and Windows client, and it just works, and that's how easy it is. Network file storages have been around for quite a while. The goal of the product is to offer simple, consistent, intuitive experience for you to manage the data. So moving back to the slides, yeah. So we have talked earlier about fully managed file systems. In continuation, I also wanted to double click and highlight what as a customer you don't have to manage. When moving to cloud, you don't have to worry about managing the underlying infrastructure. With a few clicks in the console, you get fully managed file storage without having to worry about planning for long-term capacity, setting up robust network and backup infrastructures, and any of the operational overhead of managing hardware and data center infrastructure. With a fully managed platform like FSX, we make it even easier. So now you as a customer no longer need to worry about purchasing, installing, managing and configuring the file software and storage volumes, or keeping the software and hardware up to the date. As a managed service, FSX also continuously monitors and detects hardware failures, patches the OS, upgrades the hardware, as well as manages end-to-end encryption and backups. Okay, moving next. And the last piece for existing ONTAP users is self-service. So you have seen with FSX for ONTAP, creating a file system and getting started is a matter of few clicks and waiting for a few minutes. You can use the AWS Management Console or the AWS CLI to deploy and manage the storage. As you can also now deploy and automate the deployment of your infrastructure as a code, which again, not something that customers are used to, but it's something you can do so easily in cloud. Using the FSX API, the SDK, and CloudFormation, customer can model ONTAP cluster as code, which is not something that NetApp customers are particularly used to, but it's a huge value add and benefit of running into the cloud. Let me now take you through a demo on how to connect and leverage NetApp ONTAP CLI. Okay, so I will show you how you can run the NetApp ONTAP CLI commands on your FSX for ONTAP file system. It is analogous to running them on your NetApp ONTAP cluster. Now you can access the NetApp ONTAP CLI on your file system by establishing an SSH connection to the file system's management endpoint. You can use the service username as FSX admin and password you provided while creating the file system to log in. Optionally, you can update the password using the update password button from the management console. Now I will be logging into a Linux instance that is running in the same VPC as my file system. Now I will use the FSX admin username and the credentials to log into the file system. So here I am logged into the file system. So if I run the command ? It is going to list out the available commands. Now I am going to show you the SVM for the FSX cluster. For this, I am going to run the command vserver show. Okay, as you can see, I have a default SVM called FSX. This is the same exact thing you will see into your FSX console as well. I am going to do a volume show and show you how the volumes are created into the SVM. So let me run the command volume show. Okay, so each SVM has a root volume. So you see FSX underscore root here, it's a one small gigabyte volume which is created by default. NetApp and we do not recommend customers to create data in the root volume. So there is another volume called as vol1. There is where you can read the data and write the data. So here is the volume 1. So this was a basic demo to show you the ONTAP CLI. There are a lot of different commands here. The idea behind is to give your storage administrator the unified experience of ONTAP CLI. Hence, you can go ahead and manage your data the same way as you manage on any other ONTAP system. The second takeaway is that you can either manage your data via ONTAP CLI or the FSX console or both. By default, Amazon FSX actually syncs with ONTAP. So if you create a volume through ONTAP, the FSX console and the API will automatically sync up and will start reflecting the same as well. So it will allow to use either of the interface for management. So before we move to the presentation, Rob, I wanted to check if there are any additional questions.
Hey, Somnath, thanks. Yes, we did have a question that came in from Safia007. I wanted to know, how is FSX different from EFS?
I can take that question, Rob. So, Sophia, EFS is mainly used only for Linux operating system. So, if your workload are only running Linux-based clients, you can definitely go ahead and leverage EFS. However, if your environment is a mix of Windows, Linux, then that's where FSX would come into the picture, and you can benefit out of it. Another comparison that I can do is with FSX, you have a minimum size with which you can start. However, with EFS, that is not the case. So with EFS, you can start as low as 0 kilobyte, but with FSX, the minimum size that is supported at this point is around 1 terabyte. So I hope this answers your questions.
Thanks. Appreciate giving a little insights and information on the difference between EFS and FSX. I'll drop a link in for anyone interested on EFS as well, just for some reading. But otherwise, I'll turn it back over to y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, so we talked a lot about how FSX ONTAP benefits customers who are existing users of NetApp today. Now, we are also seeing a lot of customers who have never heard of ONTAP before, like developers, builders, and even net new users. They have never used it. Now, because the service makes it that easy to get started with powerful feature-rich shared file storage, we are seeing a lot of customers who have never even used ONTAP system before using this service. So, but now they're trying to use it so they can leverage the ONTAP's unique features like flexible data access, performance and scalability, cost savings, data protection capabilities. Because the service makes it so easy to get started, any customers on AWS now can benefit from these capabilities without needing to become an expert in how do you manage or use ONTAP systems. So let me give you a few examples. So let's talk about the flexible data access. So the demo that Somna just gave you, it showed how you can access an FSX system over industry standard protocols like NFS from Linux and SMB for Windows. Now there is also iSCSI. iSCSI is actually a block protocol, so you can access your data both as a file system as well as a block device. What this means is within a VPC, you can access it from virtually any compute services that we offer. So EC2, ECS, EKS, app streams, workspace, even VMware Cloud on AWS. In addition, customer can access their data from other VPCs, that is peered VPCs in AWS, and they can also access them from on-premise over Direct Connect and VPN. The short story is customer can deploy their storage in the cloud and can access it from virtually wherever their clients may live. Okay. Another pillar of ONTAP and another reason we are seeing a lot of customers excited in the service comes down to performance. Now, ONTAP is a technology that delivers high performance. We have customers who have traditionally ran databases against ONTAP like Oracle and SAP HANA. Each file system can scale to multiple gigabytes per second of throughput, up to hundreds of thousands of IOPS, and with consistent sub-millisecond latency. FSX is actually synchronously replicating data across AZs to make sure that there are no inconsistency. If there is a failover, so there should be no inconsistency when there is a failover. Also, we offer sub-millisecond latency for both read operations as well as write operations. We also support a number of popular features built into SMB and NFS like multi-channel and NConnect. What they allow customers to do is max out their network bandwidth from a single client to FSX. Also, customers can independently select their performance and their storage. We want to make sure customer don't overpay. So what this means is customer should only be provisioning the storage that they need to store their data and the performance that they need to actually serve their data. These two dimensions are decoupled, so customers can independently choose one versus the other. Okay. On the note of cost, just wanted to give you a quick overview of some of the cost features that can affect cost. So FXX for ONTAP has two storage tiers. You have a high performance SSD tier, and we also have a lower cost fully elastic capacity pool tier. When I say fully elastic, I really mean it. So capacity pool storage automatically scales up, automatically scales down based on the data that you have in that tier. And what this means is tiering is done automatically. For a typical data set, we see that about 20% of data that's out there is hot, and about 80% of data that's out there is cold. And so, with the combination of these two storage tiers, what customers can do is store a fraction of their data on SSD storage and have ONTAP automatically tear it off into a colder data to lower cost the onto the lower cost capacity pool storage. By doing this, they may save a lot of money. Also, because the tiering is so intelligent and so efficient, it will automatically bring in the data into SSD tier based on the access pattern. So to summarize, customers can get SSD level of performance for their workload even if only a fraction of the data is actually residing on the SSD storage at a given time. Okay. Before getting into the data protection, I just wanted to check if there are any questions, Rob.
Hey, Vinay, no questions right now from the audience specific to the data protection stuff. I'll let you continue into this portion of the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. I'll hand over to Somnath to talk about the data protection capabilities which FSX for ONTAP provides.
Thank you, Vinay. So let's moving to the data protection slide here. Um, yes, thanks. So I'm going to talk about some of the data protection capabilities of FSX. So one of them is snapshots. So snapshot is one of the key capabilities that ONTAP offers that customers really love. What a snapshot is, it's a point in time view of the data in a particular volume. So let's say I take a snapshot at 1 p.m. If I then go ahead and modify a file an hour later, let's say at 2 p.m. What I can actually do is I can right click on that file, click on the previous version tab. As you can see in the screenshot here, the version of the file that existed at 1 p.m. So this is a really powerful feature that allows the end user to self-service restoring the files. So let's say they accidentally deleted a file or overrode a file. This allows the customers to self-service restore without having to talk to an admin. Okay. So we also offer couple of backup and disaster recovery solutions. So one of them is the built-in backups capability. We have this feature with Windows and Lusher as well. Now we offer it with ONTAP, where by default we take a daily automatic backup of every volume in a file system. Backups are fully managed by FSX. They are crash consistent, meaning they represent a point in time copy of the volume, and they are also incremental in nature. So it's a great feature that makes it easy to even save cost. We also fully support replication capabilities that NetApp provides, so which are SnapMirror and SnapVault. Basically, these features allow you to take two ONTAP systems and set up automatic replication from one to the other. One of the most common use cases for this that we see in AWS is cross-region replication. So you can actually configure automatic cross-region replication with FSX by just spinning up two FSX file system into different regions that could be in opposite ends of the world and set up an automatic replication from one to the another. Now let us now proceed to a demo where I will go over the backup and restore capabilities of ONTAP. So I have SSH into the Linux instance here, and I'm going to run the command mount pipegrep ONTAP demo. So this is eventually show you that we have mounted the file system on /ONTAP demo. Now going into the folder, I have created a file called as multi.txt. So I'm going to cat that file. Okay, here you can see the contents of the file. Now I will append the file with some data. I will use the echo command in order to append the file. Okay, so just to verify that our appending is successful, I'm going to run a cat on this particular file one more time. Here it is. You can see the file has changed. Now I will restore it from the snapshot. In order to list the snapshots, I'm going to run the command ls-l.snapshots. Here you can see I have a set of hourly snapshots, daily snapshots, as well as manual snapshots. So this is how a Linux user will see the snapshots associated with their file system. Each snapshot is named at the time of the day, whether it is an hourly, weekly, or a daily snapshot. Now for restoring the snapshot, we will simply copy the file from the snapshot folder to the actual location. Before doing that, I'm just running a cat on the file and we can see the original file here. Now let me copy it to the original path. For this, I'm going to use the cp command. That's it. And the old file is again restored. If I run a cat command again to the original file, I can see the original file is being restored. Okay, let us quickly jump into a Windows box to go over the same. So I'm going to append this file with some text now. I'm going to save the changes. In order to restore, I will right click on that file, click on restore previous version. And if I click on the file, this is the original file. And I will click on restore. And if I click one more time, it's done. So let me show you the original file. Here it is. Okay, now let me quickly take you through another demo to cover the snapshot policy, which defines how and when a snapshot is taken for the volume. One thing to note that each volume that you create in your file system has a default snapshot policy associated with it. We are going to show you this on your ONTAP CLI. So from the EC2 Linux machine within the same VPC, I have SSH'd into the ONTAP cluster. So in order to see the snapshots, I'm going to run the command volume snapshot show. Here it is. So the output of the command will give you the information that you have two volumes on this FSX cluster and also displays the snapshot that are available for the two volumes. For the vol 1, it's the same information that you were able to see from within the EC2 instance. Now these snapshots get created due to the default snapshot policy present on the ONTAP cluster. Now running another command, volume snapshot policy show. Okay, so each volume that you create has a default policy named as default that takes 6 hourly snapshots, 2 daily snapshots, and 2 weekly snapshots. It manages the retention, it manages the creation of the snapshot. So each volume we create inherits the default policy. You can always use the ONTAP CLI to delete the snapshot or modify the snapshot policy of an existing volume. So this is just to show you how the snapshot works, and it is the same way it works on any other ONTAP system. Okay, so with this we are at the end of our demo, and I will hand it over to Vinay to cover the migration and hybrid capabilities.
Okay, thank you, Somnath. Okay, I also wanted to walk you through some of the migration and hybrid capabilities built into the product. A lot of customers who are looking to migrate or potentially running hybrid workloads within their on-premise footprints and AWS will be able to benefit out of it. So, talking about migration first, we touched upon one use case where you can use SnapMirror for migrating your data from on-prem to AWS, as well as replicating your data from one region to another as a part of the data protection feature. However, this only works if you have a existing ONTAP system, a NetApp ONTAP system on-prem, and you can use SnapMirror there. Now, if a customer is migrating from a non-NetApp systems, they can use any standard data transfer tool. They can use Robocopy or rsync. You can even use Snowball if you want to migrate your data. So there are a bunch of different options that customers have in order to migrate their data. Okay, talking about hybrid capabilities, I wanted to talk about two things. First is on-premise caching. So as you can see on the screen, you can access FSX from on-premise. This can be over Direct Connect or VPN, and this works really great. We have a lot of customers currently doing this today. One thing that you can do, however, in addition is you can have an option to deploy an on-premise cache for the data. And what this allows you to do is one, get better performance from the on prem clients and workstation, but two, it also reduces your egress cost. So if your on prem clients are reading the same data continuously, it only needs to read it once from the cloud, and then you have a local cache on prem. And again, the goal here is customers can access the data from on prem, but if you want better performance, lower latencies, they can also optionally deploy cache, and we fully support that deployment. Okay, the other use case that we see is cloud bursting. This is used in a lot of media and entertainment space. So the pattern we see is artists may create graphical assets on prem, and then you may want to run it as a compute job in the cloud with that data. Let's say you want to render a frame or a clip for a movie, and so customers can do this today, but they have their own on-prem storage. They can copy it to the cloud, run their cloud burst workload, and then they write the results back. However, if a customer is running on-prem NetApp storage, one of the feature we support with FSX is called FlexCache. And what this basically allows you to do is configure FSX as a cache in AWS for your on-premise data. So this is the kind of the reverse of what we saw in the last slide. But here, what this allows you to do is run your compute in the cloud, and now with Flex Cache, you can run it even faster because you have a local cache in AWS of your on-premise asset, so that your compute instances running in the cloud get better performance and faster rate. So overall workload processing will be faster. Okay. So last thing, just to touch upon, we have a number of resources associated with the product. So for example, the GitHub link has a number of workshops if you want to play with the service and follow a step-by-step process to do so. And there are others that you can make use of. Over to you, Rob.
Great. Thanks, Vinay. Appreciate all the information you provided today on how customers can leverage FSX NetApp ONTAP for their migration or enabling storage uses within AWS. Just want to see, is there anything else you wanted to kind of add for insights and info before we leave our audience today?
I think we can cover the data tiering policies as well, Rob, if we have a few minutes.
Yeah, we do have a few minutes.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about those.
Sure. So on the cost slide where we talk about that, there are two storage tiers. One is SSD based, one is capacity pool storage. Now the question comes in, how does the data move from an SSD storage to the capacity pool storage? The answer to that question is there are volume based data tiering policies. So there are four of them right now, practically three. So I'll cover those now. I don't have a ready-made slide, but yes, I can definitely cover it. So one is auto. So when you keep the data tiering policy as auto, what it does is it moves cold user data blocks in both the active file systems and the snapshot copies to the storage pool tier. So what this means is, let's say you're operating on your volume on a daily basis. There are some data that you access very regularly, but there are some data that you do not access regularly. So the data that you are not accessing regularly will be identified as cold blocks, and then it will be migrated over to the capacity pool tier. Now, the other one that comes in is snapshot only. What it does is it copies the data blocks that are used by the volume snapshot copies to the capacity pool tier, and your actual volume data that you are using with your file system remains as is in the SSD tier. The third one is all. So it move irrespective whether the data is hot or cold. Whatever data comes in gets automatically moved over to the capacity pool tier if the selection is all. Where this can be useful is, let's say you are having a you are just using it for backup purposes or archiving use case. In that case, it doesn't make sense to keep your data on the SSD pool tier. In that way, you can always keep the policies all, so that whatever data comes in gets automatically migrate to all. So these are the three, and there is the last one called none, which keeps the volume always in the primary storage tier.
Great, thanks, Vinay. Appreciate all that additional insights and info. Yeah, it definitely makes sense, right? You wouldn't want to keep your backups in that SSD tier when you're not going to need to access those that quickly. So, great. So we did have one question that just came in as we were going through here. Just kind of question on the overall policies and stuff for setting up the backups, retentions, everything. It sounds like from FriendBear22, does the IAM role need full FSS access, write and read for usage there?
So using answer to that is, so using IAM role, you can control creation of FSX from console through AWS CLI. But for ONTAP CLI, the username is still the one that you get from the FSX ONTAP console itself, with Somnath represented as FSX admin. So in order to access the file system from ONTAP CLI, you will use that username. However, for creating the FSX from console or CloudFormation, the same rules of IAM will apply.
Okay, great. Thanks for that little extra insight. So, everyone, today we looked at how to get started to manage FSX for NetApp ONTAP for existing as well as net new applications in AWS, how you can use SnapMirror technology to migrate and replicate your workloads. And we also encourage you to go through the samples and such that we dropped into the chat here from GitHub to help you get hands-on and start being able to leverage those sample workshops on the GitHub page. If there are any questions that were not answered today, you can post your questions on repos.aws where one of our experts can provide you with answers, or your questions could possibly become a topic of one of our future shows. If you have any feedback for us, please take our survey, which I'll drop here into the chat in the chat box, or you can email us at awssupportsyou@amazon.com. We want to hear from you, so please let us know what else you'd like to see on the show. Thank you for joining us at AWS Supports You, and happy cloud computing.
Thank you.